From poverty to performance, Jourdan Blue's troubled beginnings. Jourdan Blue was born and raised in New Orleans, the son of a police officer father and lawyer mother, an outwardly stable household that concealed growing tension. As a teenager, he discovered a magnetic pull towards singing and performance, yet life at home turned fractious. By age 16, clashes with his family escalated until he was forced to leave, finding himself without safe shelter. The young Jourdan drifted among friends' couches and occasional jobs, sometimes sleeping in a bathroom at work when no other option remained. While others his age may have seen high school halls, he saw empty streets. In that isolation, he carried his guitar with him, honing his voice late into nights when voices were silent all around. Though his school years ended prematurely, those dark hours taught him resilience. He sang when nobody listened, rehearsed melodies deep in the night, and held on to a nearly invisible faith that music would someday answer him in return. But before that promise could take shape, life would throw far worse at him than abandonment, and that next trial nearly extinguished him entirely. The brink, a near-fatal turning point. At 18, Jourdan's internal struggles pushed him into dangerous territory. He succumbed to substance dependency, driven by anguish, self-doubt, and the void left by early homelessness. In a moment of crisis, his body betrayed him. He slipped into a time where consciousness blurred, an event he later described as his darkest wake-up call. Waking from that haze, he realized how close he had come to disappearing altogether. In that silence, he made a radical decision. He would quit cold turkey. Every fiber in him rebelled. Withdrawal racked his body. Nights stretched long and horrific, but he pressed on. No counselor, no rehab center, just a young man and his will. During these weeks, his grandfather quietly intervened, offering shelter and reminding him of the life he could still create. Jourdan later said his grandfather didn't merely save a body, he revived a dream. He began singing again, not for applause, but for solace. Every lyric whispered, every chord struck, became part of his recovery. In the months that followed, he treated his voice like medicine and his guitar like a lifeline. Yet, though the ghost of his overdose faded, danger wasn't done pursuing him, and the next chapter would demand he perform under pressure beyond anything he'd yet known. Bourbon Street to digital fame. The street performer's rise. With little more than a speaker powered by his car battery, Jourdan set up on Bourbon Street and began to sing. Night after night, he poured everything he had into raw performances for passers-by, tourists, locals, anyone who'd stop and listen. The voices that once echoed with loneliness now confronted crowds. Bit by bit, someone recorded a performance, shared it online, and Jourdan's voice spread. What began as a few views turned into thousands, then millions, as people were drawn not just to his pitch, but to the soul behind it. Over time, social platforms bolstered his reach. He became more than a street act. He became a phenomenon. But as momentum built, life changed again. Fatherhood entered the equation. He became a dad to a son, Jax, and instantly his stakes grew larger. His motivation shifted. He wasn't singing just for himself anymore. He was singing for legacy, survival, and love. The very streets where he had nearly drowned in despair now echoed with his promise. He would not fade. And then came the call that would elevate his story from street corners to primetime stages. America's Got Talent. The AGT audition, confessions, tragedy, and a golden buzzer. Stepping onto the AGT stage in front of Simon, Howie, Heidi, and Sophia, Jourdan didn't start with a standard intro. He began with a confession. He revealed that the block where he used to perform had recently been struck by a violent incident on New Year's Day. There, where he once sang nightly, lives were shaken. Then he raised his voice. His performance of Break Even was clean, haunting, full of tremors and conviction. The audience held its breath. When it ended, Howie Mandel leaped to his feet and pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti rained. The crowd roared. Jourdan wept. His journey, distilled into one moment, became instantly unforgettable. The audition was more than musical, it was testament. AGT producers and viewers saw not a contestant, but a survivor telling his truth in front of millions. And yet, this would only be the opening chapter. In the rounds to follow, he would face live show jitters, illness, and expectations far greater than notes can carry. Illness, grit, and a live performance test. Mid-competition, Jourdan was struck by severe illness mere hours before a live show. Reports say he vomited repeatedly backstage. Producers offered him the chance to skip, use a recorded take, or postpone, safe options many would accept. But Jourdan refused. "That's just not me," he reportedly said. He staggered on stage anyway. Every move was haunted by pain and physical weakness. But what emerged was raw and real, not a flawless vocal, but a vulnerable performance that connected. Viewers saw a human, not a perfect idol. Social media lit up with praise, empathy, and awe. Critics called it his defining moment. And behind the cameras, judges and producers whispered the same thing. Jourdan had become unignorable. That moment changed how people saw him, not as a hopeful underdog, but as an artist who would risk everything to be heard. A brush with death and an invitation from the script. Jourdan's life almost intersected with tragedy again when a terrorist attack struck Bourbon Street. By a twist of fate, he was home that night, feeling ill and absent from the chaos. Had he been on his usual block, he may have been caught. That narrow miss reinforced an eerie sense of destiny. Meanwhile, after his AGT finale, an unexpected call came. Danny O'Donoghue of The Script reached out and offered to take Jourdan on tour. The same band whose song he used for his audition now extended a hand. For the street performer turned AGT star, this felt full circle. Suddenly, he was being embraced by industry veterans. But the offer carried weight. With that came scrutiny, pressure, and the real risk of losing the raw authenticity that made him resonate. Would he adapt to the stage, or would the glare of fame burn the very spirit that brought him here? Beyond AGT, legacy, healing, and what comes next. Though Jourdan Blue placed third in season 20 of AGT, his story resonated more deeply than many winners. In public statements, he called third place not a defeat, but a badge of survival. Third place, but first in my story. Post-AGT, he's reportedly working on original music, touring offers, and possibly a documentary. Fans called themselves the Blue Crew, many crediting his journey with inspiring their own battles. Yet, he still returns to Bourbon Street, not as a tourist, but as a pilgrim. He sings where he once struggled, not for tips, but for transcendence. In interviews, he speaks of fatherhood as motivation. His son Jax gives him reason to stay, to push, to believe the story isn't over. But questions remain. Can he balance authenticity and fame? Can he keep healing through music when every song becomes a public event? His rise suggests the answer is yes. His survival suggests he has no choice. And for every person who has felt broken or unseen, his journey now stands as proof. Your voice may be quiet today, but one day, someone will listen. Fatherhood, fame, and the fragile balance of identity. As Jourdan Blue's star continued to rise, his most important role wasn't under the lights. It was at home, where he embraced the reality of being a father to his young son, Jax. While fans flooded his social media with admiration and offers poured in for shows and interviews, Jourdan consistently redirected attention to the person who grounded him. In interviews, he has said that becoming a father was the true turning point, far more profound than the golden buzzer or any viral video. Holding his son gave him clarity, a reason to heal, a reason to survive, and perhaps most importantly, a reason to stay. Fame, with all its applause and exposure, brought both a platform and a new pressure. Every lyric he wrote was now filtered through a father's lens. Could he be the kind of artist who tells the truth and still shield his child from the spotlight's harsher glare? Could he remain vulnerable without becoming exploited? These were the questions that loomed even as his popularity soared. Jourdan began using his Instagram Live and TikTok streams not only to share new music, but to speak directly to others who felt alone. Young fathers, recovering addicts, artists on the brink of giving up. He became more than a voice. He became a vessel for shared experience. But with fame came fatigue. The same rawness that made him magnetic now threatened to consume him if he didn't set boundaries. In one live session, fans noticed him taking longer pauses, blinking back exhaustion, and choosing words carefully, not because he was unsure, but because every syllable mattered now. He was no longer singing to be found. He was singing so others wouldn't be lost. That kind of responsibility can't be measured in likes or plays. It's measured in how many people breathe easier knowing someone like them made it out alive. Yet as the world cheered, Jourdan quietly wrestled with how to stay visible without being devoured. Could he still belong to the people without losing himself? From contestant to catalyst, how Jourdan sparked a movement of survivors. In the months following America's Got Talent, Jourdan Blue's name stopped being a trending search term and began becoming a whispered mantra for thousands across the country who had walked similar roads. From halfway houses to teen shelters, his story was replayed not just as entertainment, but as proof, living, breathing proof that suffering doesn't have to be the end. Communities of recovering youth adopted his music as anthems. Mental health advocates began citing his journey in webinars and high school assemblies. One fan from Chicago wrote an open letter on X, formerly Twitter, saying, "I watched Jourdan sing with vomit still in his throat and tears still in his eyes, and it made me believe my pain had value too." This wasn't PR spin, this was real. A quiet movement formed. They called themselves the Blue Crew, but they weren't just fans, they were fighters. They organized local acoustic open mics, posted recovery check-ins under his hashtags, and even fundraised for youth music programs in his honor. Jourdan, who once begged for tips on the street, now saw his story used to raise thousands of dollars for kids facing eviction, substance dependency, or mental health collapse. His face appeared on flyers for Hope Walks, and in at least one youth facility in Texas, his golden buzzer moment was shown weekly as inspiration. Jourdan didn't ask to lead a movement, but the authenticity of his struggle left a vacuum that only truth could fill. While celebrities spoke in polished sound bites, he stuttered through raw confessions. While others sang about pain, he sang through it. And that transparency did more than move hearts, it mobilized people. In a culture saturated with over-filtered highlights, Jourdan's scars became badges others could rally around. He didn't just sing to heal himself, he unknowingly gave others the permission to begin their own healing. And now, the question isn't whether he'll fade from the charts, it's whether the movement he sparked will keep growing without him having to shout. The final note: why Jourdan Blue's story is just beginning. In the end, Jourdan Blue's rise isn't defined by a trophy, a record deal, or even a viral clip. It's defined by the sheer audacity to still be here. To stand on the America's Got Talent stage wasn't just a career move, it was a reclamation of life itself. From sleeping in a workplace bathroom to standing under golden confetti, from an overdose in silence to ovations on live TV, his arc is cinematic but painfully real. He didn't win first place on paper, but in impact, in symbolism, in the narrative that millions now carry in their bones, he is the uncontested victor. And yet, perhaps most chilling, most humbling, is the knowledge that Jourdan himself doesn't see the AGT finale as an endpoint. In one recent livestream, he said, "Y'all saw me at the start of my healing. I haven't even shown you my full voice yet." That sentence alone carries the thunder of prophecy. It means the boy who once screamed into the void now has an audience. It means the silence that nearly swallowed him has been replaced by stages, spotlights, and, most importantly, shared stories. Behind the scenes, rumors swirl of an independent album in production, a feature on a Netflix music docuseries, and a national tour that puts him side by side with other mental health advocates and artists. Jourdan isn't just building a music career. He's building a movement where trauma doesn't have to rhyme to resonate. And in every lyric he writes, in every voice memo he records at 2 a.m., in every trembling breath before a live show, he plants seeds that say, you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to be loud to matter. You just have to survive long enough to sing. And Jourdan Blue, he's still singing. And this time, the world is finally listening.